Choshev Rav Shlita, Rishus Kol HaKodesh Hazeh. Oh, like Canary, it's so nice to see you, such a chizik. I give a bracha to every yid here. This shul, in a few years from now, is going to have a huge, beautiful building. Be'ezah Hashem Yisvarach. I hear the campaign was very matzliach last night. It's the first of many. Now one day, each of you are going to say the good old days. And we were in the old shul. It was so geschmack. It was so geschmack. There was a oilum together, ba'achtas, ba'ava v'reis. I thank the Eibishtam Zoichet to have a shul. And Baruch Hashem, we finished building. Someone told me from Rav Simcha Bunim Cohen. Rav Simcha Bunim Cohen said he had a small shul. He built a big shul. And the same people that pushed him to build the big shul came to him and said the good old days were so geschmack. Now is the good old days. It's a schus to be here in a mokum, ba'achtus. We're Yidden that are part of Kollel Yisrael. We're Kollel Yisrael Yidden. I was driving on the way to Lutz this morning, and I drove by the road where last week was a terrible accident. I was on the way home from shul last week, and the road was closed. And I had a tremendous Hisorerus. A few months ago in Lakewood, there was a tragedy. Rahman al-Islam, a child was left in a car. And the worst tragedies we could imagine. A few weeks after that tragedy, a Rav, a younger Rav who became a Rav a few years ago, a very good friend of mine, he wrote a letter to all the Rabbanim in town. He wrote a letter, a very heartsiger letter. He was begging the Rabbanim, please, let's do something. He's trying to do something. Be'ez Hashem, it should be matzliach. I meet this Rav afterwards, and I ask him, where does Kumtas for you? You're from the younger Rabbanim in town. And just go, knock on the door of some older Rabbanim, ask them for some ideas. He's writing a letter, like signs from older Rabbanim in town. And he tells me something very scary. He says, you don't understand. It happened in my Kollel. I don't sleep at night. When I go to shul, every Shabbos, I see this Yid. Sadly, in the world we live in, everything turns into news very, very quickly. So a person gets all of a sudden, it goes out, tragedy in Lakewood. Baruch Hashem, there's still a little menschlichkeit, and they don't write the names until they go to the families. And as a person goes through the day, he breathes a sigh of relief. Baruch Hashem, it's not my children. Baruch Hashem, it's not my friend. Baruch Hashem, it's not my shul. This Shabbos, there's tatas and mamas, zaydis and babas, cousins, uncles, shuls that are going into Shabbos molei tzah. The Chazon Ish writes a person could only have kavanah one tefillah in the week. The Libi Oimeli, I'm sure this shul that applies to Eis Rotzen Lazeh is Erev Shabbos Mincha. So a Yid, this Erev Shabbos Mincha, he's going to be mishtatef b'tzarasin shal Yisrael and al daven for these families that are going into a Shabbos missing Yiddish kinder. We go into the Yom Tov from the Shenste Zmanim, the Yom Tov Haba Aleinu L'Toiva, the Yom Tov with the greatest preparation. Shavuos, the Yom Tov is called Al Shem, the preparation. And every person has to think to himself, what am I preparing for? The Svarim say the whole Svira, the last night's Svira, a person could have the whole Svira, getting 1 second of really focusing. What am I doing? And we're maminim that every year is a new Kabbalah Satayr. So each one of us is being Mekabel the Torah. Uniquely, the Yom Tov of Shavuos has no mitzvah. Pesach was so busy, mitzvahs and mitzvahs. All the Inyanim of Shavuos are all minhagim. The next time someone says, minhagim are kleinigkeiten, every single thing we do on Shavuos is a minig. Klal Yisrael is going to be spending thousands and thousands of dollars on minhagei Yisrael. But a Yid goes into Shavuos, and he goes and he has Sudas, and he goes to Daven, or even if he's out somewhere, he doesn't have a minyan. This year he's not holding a Kenish Land. This Shavuos he's not able to learn. At the Zalma Shavuos Yid. What is the avodah? von a Yid of the Yom Tov and Shavuos. Zok Rashi, a tremendous avodah. And I understand the name of the shul, this is Mistama, the avodah of this shul. Zok Rashi, Laharos hakol moedim batzeres binan lachem. Laharos shenoyach u'makubel yoim zeh shenitna b'Torah. Imagine every shul would be a sign up on the night of Shavuos. And every Yid, when he walks into shul Shavuos, will be one of these things. And in order for you to walk in the shul on Shavuos, you have to explain, why am I happy that I'm a Jew? Why do I want to sign up? Am I interested? I was sitting with groups of people this week. I was sitting in a yeshiva and I asked the boys, are you happy you're a Yid? The conversation didn't go so easy like I thought. My Rabbi, Shavarafua Shalem Rabbi, told me a drasha that he once said in a community out somewhere in the United States. It was a community of Yidden that are on the way coming closer to the Eibishter, and they built a mikveh. They built a beautiful mikveh. And he gets up by the Chanukah's Habayis, and he says like this. He says, Motty Rabbi, when we come to Shemayim, I don't know who is going to be in a higher level, me or you. You are people that grew up in American homes, far away from Yiddishkeit, and each of you are on the way coming closer to Hashem, building a mikveh with such Mesiras Nefesh. He says, I come from a family of many generations going back to Rabbi Yankov Emden of Rabbanim. All my Zaydis, my father, my Zayda are a lot greater than I am. My father was greater than me, his father was greater than him, going back to the Friya de Kedoyos. I grew up since I'm 2 years old. I knew I have to learn, I have to daven. And which Yid could say that I'm doing what I should be doing? But he says the Olam Hazeh that I have, the enjoyment that I have in this world is something that you can't imagine. When you go to a big shul and you see him with 30, 40, 50 einiklach, looks like a yeshiva. He says the geschmack that I have sitting by a seder, I've once been there, sitting with a full room of einiklach. He says the geschmack that I have in a Shabbos Kodesh, the geschmack that I have in a Yom Tov. Person thinks to himself, there's certain moments, even though Yom Noraim itself might be not for many people, not an easy zman. But think of certain moments of Yom Noraim. The shenkite of sitting with a family, doing the simon. The shenkite of a shul, of a simchas Torah. The same shenkite of a Purim. And a Yid has to look into a mirror. And Mistama, the greatest nesoyin of chinuch that we have today. Baruch Hashem, the world out there, as much as we'd like to live in a different planet, the world out there is very exciting. And the only way we could go against that excitement is if a child feels in a Yiddish home, Ashreinu ma'toiv chalkeinu. I am the happiest person. Where does my tati get his chiyas? Where's my father's? Every child knows be'emes what's exciting to his father. At the barbecue, it's going on vacation, or my tati's excitement is Ashreinu ma'toiv chalkeinu am a Yid. This is something b'shas ma'isa might not be easy. B'shas when a person's young, a person has nisyonis hazman. Go to any Zayda 80 years old and ask the Zayda if you have a choice of reliving your life. And you have two choices. You have Baruch Hashem, have 8 children. You could go back to having 2 children. You could have the great, best vacations, the nicest home. Would you give up your family to do that? There's a Yid, my shochan is of Shmuel Hill. Hilly Hill's my neighbor. His father of Shloimeh Hill, Stephen Hill, he once spoke and he said an interesting thing. He said there was a time he was moist in nefesh. At the height of his career, he was moist in nefesh and became a Baal Tshuva. He became a Baal Tshuva. It was very, very difficult. And it was so difficult to have parnasa. His parnasa, he was living in Monsey. It was very, very difficult. He went to the Friedike Square Rebbe, Zechmeinah Levracha. And he comes to the Rebbe and says, Rebbe, I was moist in nefesh, and now I have nothing. I'm suffering. And the Rebbe took off his glasses, and he said there were tears coming down the Rebbe's eyes. And the Rebbe said, Reb Shloimeh, es wird sein azoi good. It's going to be so good. And he said at a Hanukkah party, B'soif Yomov, when he was sitting with his kinders, Einiklach, or Einiklach. And he said, this is what the Rebbe meant. Each one of us is making life choices. I go to the minyan every night. This speech I can't say in the minyan, because this speech is not oivel l'soich. But every single boy at the minyan, 14 years old, is making life choices that when he's 80, it's going to affect his life. I once heard from a boy at the minyan a Paldica thing. This boy said, I was the cool kid in my family. I was the one, my brother was the nebuch. My brother was the nebuch. He was the yeshivish guy. He had all types of words of describing what his brother was. He says, I was it. All of a sudden, years started going by. I was the older brother. My little younger brother comes back from Brisk, and all of a sudden, shidduchim, one nicer shidduch after another. And some groiser oisher takes my younger brother, the most greasy guy in the world, and he becomes his Aiden. All of a sudden, he's living in the nice house, he's living the life, and I'm the nebuch. And this is each one of us makes life decisions. Each one of us making life decisions. Where do I get my chiyus? Every yid that's part of this kollel. And be'ezah Hashem, I give you a bracha. Your children know, they hear that Tati goes to the kollel early in the morning. You don't realize what it means to get up early in our society. Every yid, when a person's going to have a moment, a great tzaddik said in our generation, when a person comes to his own family, he can't be an honor. But he has to tell his children the chashivas that I have when I get up in the morning, the geschmack that I have. I've spoken to many people discuss, should I stay up at night, I shouldn't stay up at night, and all of a sudden this cheshboinus, the whole night's only 4 hours, and if I sleep at night, I'll learn in the afternoon. Rav Shlomo Zalman said, if Kollel Yisrael does a minig, join Kollel Yisrael. Again, that's a personal decision. But I've never met a yid at 4 o'clock in the morning that said, this was the worst night I ever had. The Eibishter gave us spirituality, gave us Torah. Any yid that sits and learns this night of Shavuos, at 4 o'clock in the morning, he will feel a special feeling. The Eibishter should bench each one of us. Our children are going to much better yeshivas than we went to. Like Baruch Hashem, we have much better rabbeim than we went to. But this geschmack of Ashreinu Ma'atoim Chalkeinu, one of the great mashpiyim in Kollel Yisrael, in the modern Orthodox world, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs. And he said a story that changed his life. He said he was a young boy, and he came to Kew Gardens. I've asked people who this Rebbe was. He writes there was a Rebbe in Kew Gardens. He says, he came before Pesach, and the Rebbe said, could you come to me for the Seder? He comes to this house by the Seder, and it was just his tzaddik, he called him a Rebbe, and his wife. All of a sudden, in the middle of the Seder, he hears a baby crying. He hears a baby crying, and he hears the Rebbe. The Rebbe said, I have to go back. The Rebbe goes to the back, and he hears the Rebbe singing to the baby. And the Rebbe puts the baby back to sleep, and he comes back to the Seder. And he says, he didn't know what it meant then. The Rebbe was singing, Oy vi gut zu sein ayid. And he found that afterwards, that this Rebbe and his Rebbetzin, she was one of the ladies who Rahman al-Islam, they operated on the tremendous Rishonim in Auschwitz. And at that time they said, they'll never have children. And here was this Yid singing, Oy vi gut zu sein ayid. And he said that tune, his whole life, he hears that tune. Each one of us has to sing a tune to our family. Ashreinu ma'atoim chalkeinu, oy vi gut zu sein ayid. So the Eibishter is benching. We should be zoiche to come. The Eibishter's giving us such shefa and gashmius. We should be zoiche to have a connection to the Eibishter. We should be zoiche to realize the tremendous gifts the Eibishter gave us. The spiritual geschmack that a Yid has is something that money can't buy. The Eibishter should bench us. We should be zoiche to have freiliche, lichtige, zise yomtiv. We should be zoiche to come closer to the Eibishter. We should be zoiche, be'ezah Hashem Yisborach, to the simcha of Binyan Beis HaMikdash Meherav Yameinu.